कर्मण्येवाधिकारस्ते मा फलेषु कदाचन.
Bhagavad Gita, or the Song of the Divine One, is a celebrated episode in the epic Mahabharata. It is in the form of a dialogue between Dhritarashtra, the blind king of Hastinapur, and Sanjay, who describes the events of the battlefield of Kurukshetra to the king. The battle was fought between two cousin brothers, Kauravas and Pandavas, for the fair share of the Kuru kingdom. Gita, the talk between Sri Krishna, the Godhead, and Arjun, the Pandava general, is the main focus of the Gita. Through this conversation, Sri Krishna preaches the sublime yoga message, the way of righteous activity and meditation for divine communion and salvation. This video does not claim to be an exposition of the Gita, but is only an introduction. We have taken the liberty of interpreting some of the ideas propounded in the Gita with a view to make them intelligible to the younger generation.
बुद्धियुक्तो जहातीह उभे सुकृत दुष्कृते बुद्धियुक्तो जहा.
We will first describe the background that led to the presentation of Gita. Following many generations of Kuru dynasty, Shantanu became the king of North India with Hastinapur, which is near today's Delhi, as its capital. Devabrata was his only son. He declared Devabrata as the crown prince. But after this, Shantanu remarried Satyavati, and Devabrata promised not to marry so that Satyavati's son could be the rightful inheritor of the throne. Shantanu blessed Devabrata for this sacrifice. Since then, he was known as Bhishma. Bhishma, a valiant warrior, stayed as the caretaker of the kingdom until Satyavati had two grandchildren, Dhritarashtra and Pandu. Dhritarashtra was elder, but he was blind. Hence Pandu, his younger brother, ascended to the throne. Pandu was a powerful ruler and expanded his kingdom far and wide. He had two wives, Kunti and Madri. Dhritarashtra was married to Gandhari, the princess of Gandhar, which is located beyond today's Baluchistan. She voluntarily blindfolded herself immediately after marriage, in honor of her blind husband. Neither brother had any children. Pandu retired to the forest after a full life. He entrusted the kingdom to his elder brother Dhritarashtra. As the kingdom had no heir, on request from Pandu, Kunti prayed to Dharma, the god of virtue, and was blessed with her eldest son Yudhishthir. As soon as Gandhari heard of Kunti's pregnancy, she became jealous and rushed to Vedavyas, seeking his blessing to have 100 children. Unfortunately, Gandhari's plan of having her first child, Duryodhan, to claim the throne did not work out. Yudhishthir took birth before Duryodhan. Thus Yudhishthir became the eldest son of the Kuru dynasty and the rightful successor to the throne. The 100 sons of Dhritarashtra and Gandhari were collectively called Kauravas. Kunti later gave birth to 2 other children, Bhim and Arjun. Madri gave birth to Nakul and Sahadev. Collectively, the 5 brothers were known as Pandavas. Thus Arjun, the son of Indra, and the principal character of Gita, was the 3rd child of Kunti. The Pandavas grew in the forest. After the death of Pandu, they returned to Hastinapur with their mother Kunti. Madri, however, died in the funeral pyre of Pandu. Grandsire Bhishma took care of Pandavas and Kauravas and brought them up befitting royal lineage. The Pandavas were superior to the Kauravas in every respect, which led to the sibling jealousy among the Kauravas. Finally, the Kauravas and Pandavas divided the kingdom, and Yudhishthir ruled from Indraprastha, located near modern Delhi. Pandavas were highly successful in running their kingdom. They called for a Rajashwa Yagna in order to establish their supremacy over their neighboring kingdoms. Kauravas were also invited. Prince Duryodhan, the eldest of the Kauravas, felt jealous of the prosperity of the Pandavas and wanted to crush them forever. But he was unable to take any action as long as King Dhritarashtra, his father, was on the throne. Duryodhan shared his feelings with his maternal uncle Shakuni, who was a crook. Shakuni came up with a heinous plan. He was good in gambling with the dice, and no one could beat him. Shakuni advised Duryodhan to approach his father Dhritarashtra and ask him to invite Yudhishthir to a dice game. In those days, royal invitation to a dice game could not be refused. It would then be an insult to the host. Yudhishthir accepted the invitation and game started. Yudhishthir was an honest man and was no match for a gambler like Shakuni. He lost his kingdom and everything he possessed. Pandavas were sent to exile for 12 years as a condition of the game. After completing their period of exile, the Pandavas returned and asked for a fair share of the kingdom. But Duryodhan declined. Krishna, the Godhead, the king of Dwarka, came to plead for the Pandavas. Duryodhan firmly told Krishna that he would not give even a pinch of land without waging war against the Kauravas. Krishna returned to the Pandavas with the bad news of Duryodhan's refusal. Pandavas had no other alternative than to declare war. Duryodhan took the challenge and the armies moved towards the battlefield of Kurukshetra. The leaders of the two sides met and agreed on the rules of the oncoming war. Kaurava army was numerically far superior to the Pandava army. To withstand the enemy onslaught, the Pandava army had been arrayed in a needle-like formation. Arjun was in the center in his chariot, to which had been yoked 4 white horses. Krishna was Arjun's charioteer. As Bhishma, the commander of the Kaurava army, blew the conch, the warriors readied themselves for the battle. The commander of the Pandava army did the same, and the air was rent with the sound of the blowing conches, the beating of drums, the clank of weapons, the trumpeting of elephants, and the neighing of horses. Arjun lifted his bow with great self-assurance and then turned to Krishna, requesting him to drive the chariot ahead so that he can have a clear view of the enemies and their battle plans. As Krishna proceeded forward, Arjun got a chance to view the opposing armies. The enemies were none but his own people. He saw his elders, whom he respected all his life, and his own cousin brothers were standing against him. His emotion ran high, and he dropped his arms, refusing to fight. The dialogue between Krishna and Arjun at this critical juncture becomes the basis of Gita. Krishna philosophized the metaphysical aspects of life, emphasizing duty or dharma as a supreme aspiration for an individual. In the following scenes, we will try to present some of the selected verses of Gita to the younger generation that may help us all to get the eternal guidance to deal with our lives. Seeing Arjun in distress, overpowered by his emotions and refused to fight, Krishna said, Arjun, everyone has certain dharma or duty to perform. You are a warrior, and it is your duty to fight for a righteous cause. In performing those duties, let your emotion not dictate your actions.
अथ चेत्त्वमिमं धर्म्यं सङ्ग्रामं न करिष्यसि अथ चेत्त्वमिमं धर्म्यं सङ्ग्रामं न करिष्यसि ततस्वधर्मं कीर्तिं च हित्वा ततस्वधर्मं कीर्तिं च हित्वा पापमवाप्स्यसि पापमवाप्स्यसि.
While taking those actions, let you not forget, God is the doer and you are but only an instrument in His hands. You must act, resigning all your work to God. And that is true renunciation. Giving up action is not. Arjun was not convinced and lamented over the thought that he will be killing his own people by waging war against them. Krishna replied, Arjun, you have no power to kill any of your cousins or Bhishma or your Guru Drona. Your arrows only kills the body, but the soul is imperishable.
न जायते म्रियते वा कदाचित् न जायते म्रियते वा कदाचित् नायं भूत्वा भविता वा न भूयः नायं भूत्वा भविता वा न भूयः अजो नित्यः शाश्वतोऽयं पुराणो अजो नित्यः शाश्वतोऽयं पुराणो न हन्यते हन्यमाने शरीरे न हन्यते हन्यमाने शरीरे.
Following birth, the body goes through many changes as infant, childhood, youth, old age, and finally death. But the soul is neither born nor does it die. Weapons cannot cut it. Fire cannot burn it. Water cannot wet it. Or wind cannot dry it. What makes you think that you can kill the soul?
नैनं छिन्दन्ति शस्त्राणि नैनं दहति पावकः नैनं छिन्दन्ति शस्त्राणि नैनं दहति पावकः न चैनं क्लेदयन्त्यापो न शोषयति मारुतः न चैनं क्लेदयन्त्यापो न शोषयति मारुतः.
Explaining the imperishable nature of the soul, Krishna further explained, just as a man discards his old clothes and wears new ones, the eternal soul sheds a dead body and enters into another.
वासांसि जीर्णानि यथा विहाय वासांसि जीर्णानि यथा विहाय नवानि गृह्णाति नरोपराणि नवानि गृह्णाति नरोपराणि तथा शरीराणि विहाय जीर्णानि तथा शरीराणि विहाय जीर्णानि अन्यानि संयाति नवानि देहि अन्यानि संयाति नवानि देहि.
Arjun, with a puzzled mind, commented, Krishna, I fail to perceive the truth in your statement and feel hesitant to strike my elders or my younger cousins. This is because, Krishna replied, You are bound to your body and not getting the overall picture of the worldly happenings. Then he elaborated. Men in this world are of four kinds. Ones who are lethargic and takes no action, while others who are greedy and constantly engage themselves to satisfy their earthly cravings. But neither of them is truly happy. On the other hand, the noble ones are constantly engaged in doing good deeds, and yet unable to detach themselves from their body in order to receive enlightenment. To an enlightened person, the best of all, the perishable body and the imperishable soul are detached. And this detachment allows him to attain perfect balance of the mind. What is this balance of mind, Krishna? Asked Arjun. Krishna replied, It is that mental state, Arjun, when pleasure and pain, honor and dishonor, gain and loss appear to be the same. The person realizes the truth through his intellect and not through his body.
सुख दुःखे समीकृत्वा लाभालाभौ जयाजयौ सुख दुःखे समीकृत्वा लाभालाभौ जयाजयौ ततो युद्धाय युज्यस्व नैवं पापमवाप्स्यसि.
Desires of the heart hinder realization of the truth. An even-minded person does not shun action, but the effects of the action do not move him. She stays calm and tranquilized like the ocean, which remains unaffected by the pouring in of the waters of mighty rivers. How can we attain, O Krishna? Asked Arjun. Krishna answered, This tranquility can be acquired by meditation, breathing exercises, right kind of food, and yoga exercises. But the yogi has to practice concentration by withdrawing his mind from all worldly things and dwell on his self-realization. This requires practice, which may take considerable time. Total devotion, on the other hand, is another way to attain this tranquility of mind, which is the simplest path. Keeping the body inactive, said Krishna, does not attain the desired goal. Survival of the body calls for action. The attitude has to change, and not the action. You must think you have the right only to act, but not right to the fruit of your actions.
कर्मण्येवाधिकारस्ते मा फलेषु कदाचन कर्मण्येवाधिकारस्ते मा फलेषु कदाचन मा कर्मफलहेतुर्भुः मा ते सङ्गोऽस्त्वकर्मणि मा कर्मफलहेतुर्भुः मा ते सङ्गोऽस्त्वकर्मणि. योगस्थः कुरु कर्माणि सङ्गं त्यक्त्वा धनञ्जय योगस्थः कुरु कर्माणि सङ्गं त्यक्त्वा धनञ्जय.
Arjun addressed Krishna. I have revealed these great truths as they existed through ages. You and all the princes were existed before and gone through many lives until they reached the present day and will continue to exist. I was present then, I am present today as you see me, and will be present in future in a different form.
अव्यक्तोऽयमचिन्त्योऽयम् अविकार्योऽयमुच्यते अव्यक्तोऽयमचिन्त्योऽयम् अविकार्योऽयमुच्यते तस्मादेवं विदित्वैनं नानुशोचितुमर्हसि तस्मादेवं विदित्वैनं नानुशोचितुमर्हसि. जातस्य हि ध्रुवो मृत्युः ध्रुवं जन्म मृतस्य च जातस्य हि ध्रुवो मृत्युः ध्रुवं जन्म मृतस्य च.
I take birth again and again onto this earth to protect the righteous people and destroy the evil. Krishna, can you show me your real form? Sought Arjun. Krishna replied, Arjun, you cannot see that with your mortal eyes. I have to impart that divine power to you in order to see the creation. Receiving that power, Arjun saw Krishna spreading out through the universe. There was no break between the past and the present. Arjun staggered and stupefied and observed the whole drama of life. Arjun was amazed and fell at Krishna's feet. If you are perplexed, take refuge in me, said Krishna with compassion. Arjun, all different paths of worship ultimately come to me, consoled Krishna. But Krishna, how do one know that they have realized the ultimate? Asked Arjun. Arjun, the realized soul stays the same in pain or in pleasure, in victory or in defeat, in honor and in dishonor. To him, a piece of gold, a clod or a stone are the same. In my mortal life, as you see me, I undergo constant action. It is time that you rise and perform your duty as a warrior. Arjun now saw it clearly where his duty lay. He lifted his Gandiv bow and put the twang that alerted both the sides, the Kauravas and Pandavas. Great was the battle that followed, in which the Kauravas were totally annihilated. The incidents of the Kurukshetra battle are recounted in all their glorious detail to this day. But more memorable still was the discourse that Lord Krishna gave to Arjuna, which has instructed, enlightened, and inspired Indians down the ages.
सर्वेषां स्वस्तिर्भवतु सर्वेषां शान्तिर्भवतु सर्वेषां पूर्णं भवतु